For more than 50 years, television viewers have been singing along with one of the most unforgettable sitcom themes ever recorded. The moment you hear those voices, you know exactly what's coming. Good times. But here's a question. Do you actually know what they're singing? Because one mysterious line has confused viewers for decades. Some people heard hanging in a chow line. Others heard something completely different. And that's only the beginning of the story. The voices behind this famous theme did not belong to the cast. Ja'Net DuBois didn't sing it. John Amos didn't sing it. Esther Rolle didn't sing it. And Jimmie Walker didn't sing it. The voices belong to two extraordinary singers whose names millions of Good Times fans may never have known, Jim Gilstrap and Sondra Blinky Williams. And even more surprising, according to the people who wrote the song, Good Times may have actually gotten its title from the theme song itself. When the theme song was written, the sitcom didn't yet have a title for the show. This is the fascinating story behind the Good Times theme song. The singers you heard every week, the legendary songwriters who created it, and the lyric television viewers spent decades trying to figure out. Good Times premiered on CBS on February 8, 1974. The series centered on James and Florida Evans and their children JJ, Thelma, and Michael, a black working-class family living in a Chicago public housing project. Esther Rolle had previously portrayed Florida Evans on Maude, making Good Times a spin-off connected to the Norman Lear television universe. But Good Times quickly developed an identity all its own. The Evans family didn't have much money. James struggled to find steady work. Bills arrived whether the family could afford them or not. The refrigerator wasn't always full. The threat of unemployment was real. But despite those hardships, the Evans family had something money couldn't buy. They had one another, and that tension between hardship and happiness became the heart of the show's remarkable theme song. Listen closely to what the theme is actually saying. This is supposedly a song about good times, but what does it talk about? Making payments, trying to keep your head above water, temporary layoffs, credit problems, scratching, and surviving. Those don't exactly sound like good times, and that is precisely what makes the song so clever. The words describe people struggling financially, while the music and voices answer those struggles with optimism. No matter how difficult life becomes, somehow there are still good times to be found. The music was composed by Dave Grusin, one of America's most accomplished composers and arrangers. Grusin would build an extraordinary career spanning television, movies, and jazz, eventually becoming an Academy Award-winning composer. But for Good Times, he created something that sounded less like a traditional television jingle and more like a gospel celebration. The lyrics came from another legendary songwriting team, Alan and Marilyn Bergman. The husband and wife team became two of America's most respected lyricists, writing words for some of the most celebrated songs in film and popular music. Their work would earn Academy Awards, Grammy Awards, and numerous nominations. Together with Dave Grusin, they had also worked on the theme for Maude, the very series from which Florida Evans and Good Times emerged. But according to Alan and Marilyn Bergman, something remarkable happened while they were creating the new show's theme. The sitcom apparently didn't yet have the title we now know. The Bergmans developed the words around the idea of finding good moments, even when circumstances were difficult. And the phrase that kept returning was simple: good times. The theme and the identity of the television series became intertwined from the very beginning. Then came the voices. The male lead was Jim Gilstrap. Even if you didn't recognize his name, there is a very good chance you've heard his voice somewhere beyond Good Times. Gilstrap became a highly respected singer and background vocalist, working with major recording artists during an era overflowing with extraordinary musical talent. He would also achieve success as a recording artist himself, but every week, millions of television viewers heard Jim Gilstrap's voice helping announce that it was time to visit the Evans family. Singing alongside him was Sondra Blinky Williams. Blinky was an accomplished singer with connections to Motown and a powerful gospel-rooted voice. voice. Together, Gilstrap and Williams gave the theme something that words on a page could never provide. They gave it soul. Listen to the way the voices interact. One voice makes a declaration. Other voices answer. The energy builds. The performance has the call and response quality associated with Black gospel music. It feels communal. It feels as though everyone is participating. And that sound was perfect for Good Times because this wasn't simply a television program about poverty. It was about survival. It was about family. It was about finding something to laugh about when there wasn't much money in your pocket. And perhaps no part of the song illustrates that contradiction better than the section describing the family's struggles. Temporary layoffs, good times, easy credit ripoffs, good times, scratching and surviving, good times. Think about how unusual that is. The singers name something difficult, and the response is still good times. It almost sounds sarcastic at first, but when you consider the Evans family, another interpretation emerges. Life can be difficult and still contain good times. You can struggle and still laugh. You can worry about tomorrow and still enjoy your family tonight. You can have very little money and still possess something valuable. That was the Evans family. And then we come to perhaps the greatest mystery in the entire song. What exactly were they singing in that line? For decades, television viewers argued about it. Many people were absolutely convinced they heard a reference to a chow line. Other listeners heard different words entirely. It became one of those classic television mysteries that people debated long before anyone could simply pull out a phone and search for an answer. But according to lyricists Alan and Marilyn Bergman, the words were hangin' in and jivin'. That's right, not the famous chow line interpretation so many viewers remember hearing. Hangin' in and jivin'. Even decades later, people continued debating what their own ears told them. And honestly, that confusion has become part of the song's charm. But there is something else fascinating about those vocals. Some viewers assumed they were hearing members of the Good Times cast. Certain voices seemed as though they could belong to characters from the program, but the credited lead performers were Jim Gilstrap and Blinky Williams, accompanied by gospel-style backing voices. That means millions of viewers knew these singers intimately without necessarily knowing their names. Every week, their voices entered homes across America, and then the Evans family appeared. James Evans, played by John Amos, Florida Evans, played by Esther Rolle, JJ, played by Jimmie Walker, Thelma, played by Bernadette Stannis, and Michael, played by Ralph Carter. The opening theme prepared viewers for their world before the story even started. This was a family trying to keep its head above water. Sometimes James had work, sometimes he didn't, sometimes the bills were paid, sometimes the family had to figure out how they were going to make it, and yet their apartment could still be filled with laughter. That is why calling the show Good Times wasn't necessarily a contradiction. The title wasn't saying that everything happening to the Evans family was good. It was saying that good times could exist in the middle of difficult ones. That distinction is important because Good Times became one of the most significant Black family sitcoms of the 1970s. The program showed viewers a working-class Black family dealing with economic hardship, discrimination, unemployment, and life in public housing. But it also showed love, discipline, humor, pride, friendship, creativity, and resilience. Florida and James might disagree. The children might get into trouble. JJ might drive everybody crazy. But when something threatened the family, the Evanses came together. And that is exactly what the theme song sounds like. Not one lonely person singing about surviving, a group of voices answering one another, a musical family. Good times. Anytime you need a payment. Good times. Anytime you need a free. Good times. Anytime you're out from under. Not getting hassled, not getting hustled. Keeping your head above water. Making a way when you can. Temporary layoffs. Good times. Easy credit rip-offs. Good times. Scratching and surviving. Good times. Hanging in a jar. Good times. There is also an extraordinary connection between Good Times and another legendary sitcom from the same era. While audiences were hearing Jim Gilstrap and Blinky Williams sing the Good Times theme, one of the show's own stars was responsible for another television theme that would become just as famous. Ja'Net DuBois, who played the unforgettable Willona Woods, co-wrote and sang Moving On Up, the theme from The Jeffersons. Think about that. Good Times had one of television's greatest theme songs, and one of its cast members helped create another one. 2 landmark black sitcoms, 2 gospel-influenced television themes, 2 songs that told audiences something important about the families they were about to meet. But they approached life from opposite economic directions. The Jeffersons celebrated George and Louise reaching financial success. Good Times celebrated the Evans family finding happiness and dignity while they were still struggling to reach it. One family was moving on up, the other was keeping its head above water. Yet both themes were ultimately about perseverance, and both became part of the soundtrack of black television history. Good Times remained on CBS for 6 seasons, from 1974 until 1979. During those years, the program changed considerably. John Amos eventually left the series, and the death of James Evans became one of its most emotional turning points. Esther Rolle also temporarily departed before returning. Jimmie Walker's JJ became a pop culture phenomenon, and his famous Dynamite catchphrase became one of the defining television expressions of the decade. But through the changes, the theme continued reminding viewers where this family came from. Keeping your head above water, making a wave when you can. Those words may have been written for a sitcom in the 1970s, but perhaps that is another reason the song has lasted. People understand that feeling. Anyone who has ever stretched a paycheck understands it. Anyone who has ever worried about a bill understands it. Anyone who has ever been temporarily out of work understands it. Anyone who has ever laughed with family during a difficult period understands it. The circumstances aren't necessarily good, but somehow, inside them, you can still experience good times. And behind that timeless message were Dave Grusin, Alan and Marilyn Bergman, Jim Gilstrap, Blinky Williams, and the gospel-inspired voices that transformed a short television opening into something generations would remember. Jim Gilstrap's contribution is especially meaningful today. Gilstrap died in 2026, leaving behind a remarkable musical legacy that included far more than a few seconds at the beginning of a sitcom. Yet those few seconds ensured that his voice would continue to be heard by generation after generation discovering good times. And Blinky Williams deserves to be remembered as well. For millions of viewers, these were voices they knew before they knew the singers' names. So the next time you watch Good Times, don't skip the opening. Listen to what the words are actually saying. Listen to the contradiction between financial hardship and joyful music. Listen to Jim Gilstrap. Listen to Blinky Williams. Listen to that gospel influence. And remember that you're hearing a song clever enough to describe unemployment, bills, credit problems, and survival, and somehow make you smile while doing it. Because perhaps that was the real message of Good Times all along. Good times don't necessarily mean a life without problems. Sometimes good times are the moments of happiness you manage to create while you're going through them, and more than 50 years later, we're still singing along. Now, I have to ask you the question generations of Good Times fans have debated. What did you think they were singing? Did you hear hangin' in a chow line? Did you hear hangin' in and jivin'? Or did you hear something completely different? Tell us in the comments, because I know some of you have been singing your version for 50 years. And did you know the voices behind the Good Times theme were Jim Gilstrap and Blinky Williams? If you enjoyed discovering the story behind another classic television theme song, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. There are many more incredible stories hiding behind the theme songs we grew up with, and we're going to uncover them one by one. Until next time, keep your head above water, make a wave when you can, and remember the people whose voices help create the soundtrack of classic black television.
This is Mr. Jim Gilstrap, who was the original person to sing Good Times. He was the male voice, and Blinky Williams was the female voice.
There you go.
So So, Jim, tell us about the song and how it came about and all that.
Well, the song was written by Alan and Marilyn Bergman.
Okay.
And we did it at a studio called TTG up on Sunset in Hollywood. Okay. Now, there were some lyrics they had to take out because they didn't want to, I guess, embarrass black people, so they took the lyrics out.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Just looking out of the window, watching the asphalt grow, thinking how it all looks hand-me-down. Hey, yeah, keeping your head above water, making a way when you can. Okay, now they took out these lyrics.
I can't believe you had more lyrics.
Yeah, they took them out because they didn't want to embarrass black people.
Well, that's good. So what were they?
So those lyrics were roaches are roaming the hallway.
Oh no.
Landlord is nobody's fool. He lives on the other side of town. Good times. Anytime you meet a payment, good times. Anytime you meet a friend, good times. Anytime you're out from under, not getting hassled, not getting hustled.
Wow.
But they wanted to take that roaches are roaming the hallway.
Well, I'm so glad they took those out. And I hope they're never in again, you guys. Don't be singing that. Oh my goodness.
The landlord is nobody's fool. He lives on the other side of town.
Isn't that something? Now they can that part they could keep, but the roaches in the